I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and honestly, I'm still trying to get my head around everything that's happened. My wife, Amanda, has always been the kind of girl who's quick with a smile and sharp with her words. Sometimes bitchy, yeah, but I figured that was just her personality. We'd been together for about 6 years, and things seemed normal, or so I thought. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago, right after I was diagnosed with cancer. Yeah, I know, heavy stuff. It's not exactly the easiest thing to go through, and I honestly thought Amanda would step up, be supportive. Instead, she turned into this cold, bitchy version of herself. She'd snap at me over small things, cancel plans last minute, and I'd catch her on her phone more than usual. I just chalked it up to her being stressed and maybe a bit overwhelmed. We're not perfect, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. But then came the signs I didn't want to see. Little things at first. Her phone screen lighting up at odd hours, hurriedly hiding it when I'd walk into the room. She'd change her schedule around suddenly, claiming her work was demanding more of her. She even started dressing differently, more provocative, more flirtatious, which was weird because she's never been the kind to wear revealing stuff around the house. She'd also become distant, less interested in intimacy, and I kept telling myself it was just stress. But deep down, I knew better. Something was off. One night I was lying in bed, exhausted from chemo treatment, when I caught a glimpse of her phone on the nightstand. Out of habit, I glanced at the screen, nothing unusual, just a message from a coworker. But then I noticed she'd cleared some messages. I mean, they disappeared. That's when I started feeling that cold knot in my stomach. I couldn't see what the messages said, but the fact that she was hiding them. That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just stress or work. Something was happening behind my back, and I had no idea how to even process it. I wanted to believe she was stressed, that maybe she was just trying to deal with everything. But then, I started noticing her texts coming in more frequently, more late at night. The tone of her messages changed, more flirtatious, more intimate. And I swear, the way she'd act when I was around, more defensive, quick to get angry if I asked about her phone, made me realize she was hiding something. I felt like I was losing my mind trying to piece it all together. I was sick, vulnerable, and all I wanted was some honesty. But what I found instead was her secret life, and it shattered everything I thought I knew about us. That night, after a long day of chemo, I was exhausted, lying there in pain, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more I could take. My mind kept circling back to her texts, her changing behavior, the way she'd snap at me for no reason. I couldn't shake this feeling that I was losing her, losing the woman I thought I knew. I decided to check her phone again, not really expecting to find anything new, but I needed to know the truth. I waited until she fell asleep. She always did pretty quickly after she'd had her wine or whatever she was drinking that night. Carefully, I reached over and grabbed her phone from the nightstand. Her screen was unlocked. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't help myself. I scroll through her messages and my heart pounds in my chest. There were dozens of texts between her and John, my best friend. I don't mean to sound dramatic, but I froze right there, staring at the screen. They'd been talking dirty. Not just casual, they'd been exchanging explicit messages, talking about what they'd do to each other, planning secret meetups. I saw plans to meet late at night to go to hotels. The worst part, they'd been doing this for months. I couldn't believe it. My wife, my best friend, betraying me in the worst way possible. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My hands trembled as I scrolled, and I saw pictures, screenshots, really, of them together, smiling, acting like everything was fine. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the betrayal, my mind racing. I felt this surge of rage, then pure sadness, then numbness. I wanted to scream, to wake her up and make her admit everything, but I knew I had to keep calm. The next morning I woke up early, still trembling from the shock. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. I couldn't keep pretending. My entire world, my trust, everything I believed in was crumbling. And the worst part, I didn't even know how long she'd been lying to me or what else she'd hidden. This wasn't just cheating, it was betrayal of the deepest kind. My best friend, the woman I loved, had been sneaking around behind my back for months. I didn't sleep that night, and when I finally did, I dreamt of that moment, of the look on her face when I finally called her out. The moment I decided to confront her, I knew I had to do it carefully. At least, that's what I told myself. I couldn't just explode, not right then. I needed to gather my thoughts, prepare for whatever lie she'd spin next. But honestly, I felt like my head was spinning already, like my entire world was tilting off its axis. Amanda was still sleeping when I got up, her face peaceful but innocent looking, completely unaware of what I'd uncovered. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding her phone in my hand, trying to find the right words, the right tone. I wanted to ask her outright, but I knew she'd deny everything, lie her way out of it like she always did. So I just looked at her, then at her phone, then back at her. When she finally woke up, I looked her in the eyes and asked, "Amanda, I need to talk to you about something important." Her eyes flickered with annoyance, like I was bothering her before her coffee or whatever. She sat up, stretching, trying to act casual. "What's wrong, Jake?" she snapped, that bitchy tone. I took a deep breath, looked at her phone, and then slid it across the bed. "Who's John?" I asked plainly. Her face instantly froze, her eyes darting to the screen. She hesitated, then scoffed and rolled her eyes. "What are you talking about? That's just some guy from work. You're paranoid." But I knew better. I went through the messages, showed her the photos, the explicit texts. Her face twisted into a mask of anger and denial. "That's bullshit. You're nuts. I was just talking to him about work stuff." "You're crazy if you think," I interrupted her. "No, Amanda, I saw everything, the plans, the sex talk, the pictures. Don't lie to me. How long has this been going on?" Her composure cracked a little, but she straightened her back and spat. "You're overreacting. You're sick, Jake. This is what happens when you're sick. You get paranoid. You start accusing me of things that aren't even real." I was furious. My whole body tensed. How could she say that? How could she pretend I was crazy when I just caught her red-handed? But at the same time, I felt this deep ache inside, like my heart had been punched out of my chest. I wanted to scream, to yell, to shake her until she told the truth. Instead, I sat there silent, feeling the weight of her lies, feeling the betrayal being reinforced with every word she uttered. I asked her again, "How long, Amanda? How long have you been cheating on me?" She looked away, her face twisting with anger and frustration. "I don't owe you any explanations. I don't owe you anything. You're sick, and you're making things worse for yourself. Just leave me alone." That was her way of shutting me out, shutting me down. But I knew the truth now, and it burned like fire in my gut. I was done pretending. I knew I had to make a choice, but I didn't know what that was yet. All I knew was this wasn't just a betrayal. It was the end of everything I thought I had. The days that followed were a blur. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to process what I'd learned, what I'd seen, what I'd felt. Deep down, I already knew I couldn't stay with her, not after knowing she'd been lying to me for months, sneaking around with my best friend. It hurt more than I can even describe, like someone had reached into my chest and ripped my heart out. But I also knew I couldn't just walk away immediately. I needed to think, to plan, to gather myself before I did anything drastic. Amanda kept up her act, pretending everything was normal, acting like the innocent victim. She'd snap at me, call me paranoid or sick, accuse me of projecting my illness onto her. But I didn't buy it anymore. Every time she looked at me, I saw the lie behind her eyes. I saw the guilty woman who'd betrayed everything we had. I started to keep my distance, staying quiet, watching her every move. One night she came home late, smelling of perfume I didn't recognize. I was sitting in the living room, pretending to watch TV, but really just waiting for her to slip up. She tried to brush past me without saying a word, but I blocked her path. "Who was it, Amanda? Who did you meet that late?" I asked, my voice low but steady. She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "You're obsessed. I was with some friends. You're just jealous because I won't put up with your bullshit anymore." I didn't believe her. I knew she was lying. I could smell the scent of another man on her clothes. I'd seen the texts, the pictures. There was no way she was with friends, not at that hour. I felt the anger boiling inside me. I was sick of her lies, her manipulations. But I also felt a deep sadness, like I was mourning the loss of a woman I once loved. The person I married was gone, replaced by someone else, someone who didn't care about me at all. That night I decided I needed to do something more than just accuse. I needed proof, concrete proof, so I could finally be done with her. I secretly installed a spy app on her phone, something to track her messages, her calls, her location. I knew it was wrong, but I was desperate. I needed to know exactly how far she'd gone, how deep this betrayal really was. I sat there watching her movements from my phone, feeling sick to my stomach. Every new message, every new location confirmed my worst fears. It was during that night that I got the final confirmation I needed. A message thread where she was planning to meet John again, talking about what they'd do to each other. I saw explicit plans, even some photos she'd sent him. That was it. I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I was angry, I was hurt, and I was shattered. I wanted to scream, to tear everything apart, but I knew I had to hold it together for myself, for whatever dignity I could salvage. I had already lost so much, but I wasn't going to let her or him get away with this, not without consequences. The decision to confront her this time was unavoidable. I'd gathered enough evidence, enough pain to finally push me over the edge. I waited until she came home again, late, smelling of perfume and excitement. I was sitting in the living room with the phone in my hand, my face cold and expressionless. When she walked in, she immediately sensed something was wrong. Her eyes darted around, trying to gauge what I knew, what I didn't. "Who were you with tonight?" I asked, voice steady but with the weight of everything I'd been holding back. She looked at me with that familiar bitchy smirk, like I was bothering her, like I was just some inconvenience. "Seriously, Jake, you're still obsessing over this. I was out with friends. Get over it already." But I wasn't buying her bullshit. I held up my phone and pressed play on the recording I'd secretly made. It was her voice, whispering dirty things to John, making plans to meet up again. Her face instantly paled, her smugness melting away. She tried to deny, to lie, but the evidence was in her own voice. I told her I knew everything, the texts, the photos, her secret meetings. She looked angry, then defensive, then downright furious. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're sick. You're just jealous because I want something you can't give me anymore." That was the moment I realized I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent. I looked at her, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut so hard I saw stars. I told her I was done. Done with her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I told her I was ending it, that I couldn't be with someone who'd been lying and sneaking around behind my back while I was fighting cancer. The look in her eyes was pure hatred for me, for the situation, for everything she'd done. I left that night, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I had no choice. I couldn't stay with someone who'd betrayed me so deeply, who'd lied about her feelings, who'd slept with my best friend. I packed a bag, took what dignity I had left, and walked out. I didn't look back. I knew there would be consequences, heartbreak, and a long road ahead. But I also knew I had finally taken control of my life again, even if it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Now I'm trying to rebuild. I'm healing slowly. I've learned that trust is fragile and that some people will betray you no matter how much you love them. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this: never ignore the signs, because when it hits you, it hits hard. And sometimes the only way to survive is to walk away and never look back. Since walking out that night, I've felt like I've been living in a different world. It's been a rough ride, every day a battle between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of relief. I still think about Amanda, about John, and about how everything fell apart so quickly. Honestly, I never thought I'd feel this broken, yet somehow stronger at the same time. That betrayal changed me in ways I can't even explain. It made me realize how fragile trust is, how quickly someone you love can turn into a stranger. I've started going to therapy, trying to piece myself back together. It's been a process. Some days are better than others. I try not to dwell on the past or what I could have done differently because I know that's not going to change anything. What's done is done. The only thing I have control over now is how I move forward, and I refuse to let this define me, even if it's always going to hurt a little. Looking back, I see now that I should have seen the signs sooner, but I also realize that sometimes you're so wrapped up in your own struggles, you miss the obvious. Still, I've learned that it's better to face the pain head-on than to keep pretending everything's okay. I've learned that some people are just not worth your loyalty if they betray you like that. And most importantly, I've learned that I can survive this, that I will survive this. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust me, it's the worst feeling in the world, but you get through it. You find a new strength, a new purpose. I don't regret the tears, the heartbreak, or even the anger, because it's all part of the healing process. And one day I know I'll look back at this and see it as the moment I finally took back my life. So yeah, that's my story. It's raw, it's real, and it's still ongoing. But I'm here, still standing, and I will keep moving forward. Because at the end of the day, what other choice do I have?